I didn't see it coming, but looking back, maybe I should have. My name is Jake, and I've been married to Laura for 6 years. We had what I thought was a good marriage, at least that's how I wanted to see it. Sure, we had our ups and downs like any couple. Life happens, right? But we had just weathered a storm that left some damage to our home, which I thought would bring us closer together as we repaired it. Little did I know, it would be the catalyst for the worst betrayal I could ever imagine. Things started to shift about a month after the storm. Laura became distant, preoccupied. The small conversations we used to have turned into one-word answers. I felt a pit growing in my stomach every time I noticed her scrolling through her phone, the way she would suddenly silence it whenever I walked into the room. I tried to brush it off, convincing myself it was just stress from the repairs. After all, managing a house on your own can be overwhelming, especially with the mess we had on our hands. The handyman, a guy named Steve, came highly recommended. He was there, often fixing the roof, patching walls, and helping out with whatever else needed attention. I liked him well enough. He seemed reliable and had a good work ethic. But watching Laura chat with him while I was busy clearing debris from the yard raised a few red flags. She laughed at his jokes, her eyes sparkling in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. I brushed it off, thinking I was just being paranoid. After all, how could I possibly suspect my wife of cheating? Then came the day I stumbled upon the truth. It was a Saturday, and I had planned a surprise for Laura, a new shower installation to replace the old, dingy one she had complained about for years. I thought it would be a sweet gesture, a way to show her I cared. I had the new fixture delivered, and while I was waiting for Steve to show up, I decided to run an errand. I returned earlier than expected, not wanting to miss the installation. As soon as I stepped through the door, I heard laughter coming from the bathroom. At first, I thought nothing of it, assuming they were just joking around while working, but as I got closer, I noticed the door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open, and what I saw will haunt me forever. There was Laura, hands on Steve's shoulders, laughing as they stood together under the new shower, the water cascading down around them. In that moment, everything shifted. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I stood there, frozen in disbelief, as my heart raced and fury bubbled beneath the surface. They were testing the shower, sure, but the intimacy of the moment was unmistakable. Laura turned to see me, and a look of pure panic washed over her face. I felt my heart shatter into a million pieces as the laughter died away and silence filled the air. It took everything in me not to explode right then and there. I took a step back, my mind racing with fury and confusion. How could she do this? How could she betray me like this? I didn't say a word. I turned on my heel and walked out, feeling the weight of betrayal crushing me. I needed to breathe, to think clearly. I couldn't believe the woman I loved was capable of this, that. It happened right under my nose while I thought I was doing something nice for her. The drive to the park felt eternal. My hands gripped the steering wheel as I fought back tears, fighting that gnawing feeling of betrayal. When Laura called, I ignored it. I couldn't talk. I needed time to process what I had just witnessed. I couldn't believe it. I had trusted her, and she was with another man, laughing and enjoying herself. I parked the car and sat in silence. The park was supposed to be a peaceful escape, but all I could feel was rage bubbling inside me. I couldn't wait to confront her. I wanted to see the look on her face when she realized I knew the truth. By the time I made it home, a storm of emotions raged inside me. It was time to face Laura, time to confront her with the truth. I was done playing games. I needed answers. I needed to understand why. And that was just the beginning. When I walked back into the house, the air felt thick with tension. I could hear the faint sound of water still running in the bathroom, and the muffled sound of Laura moving around. My heart raced with anger and confusion. I needed to confront her, but part of me was terrified of what I might say, or worse, what I might hear. I found her in the living room, packing back and forth, phone in hand, with a frantic look on her face. The moment she saw me, that same look of panic returned. Jake, I cut her off before she could finish. You can drop the act, Laura. I saw you. I saw everything. The words tumbled out of my mouth, and I could feel my face getting hot. How could you do this to me? Her response was immediate, a mix of shock and denial. What are you talking about? You saw us testing the shower, that's all. It was just a stupid joke. I can explain. Explain, you think that was just a joke? I was shouting now and I could feel the frustration boiling over. You were practically in the shower with him, Laura. How can you even say that? Her defenses were up and she instantly shifted from panic to anger. You're being ridiculous. You always jump to conclusions. Steve was just trying to help and I was trying to have fun. You don't understand how stressful everything is with the house. Oh, I understand, all right. I understand that you've been more interested in your fun with Steve than your marriage. I snapped, unable to hold back my resentment. It's not just a little flirting anymore, is it? You've crossed a line. With each word, I could see her composure slipping. Jake, please, you're blowing this out of proportion. We were just being silly, it didn't mean anything. Her voice was shaky and I could tell she was scrambling for a way out. Didn't mean anything. I laughed bitterly. You think I'm that naive? You've been distant for weeks and you're telling me this is just a silly joke. I didn't mean to shut you out. You're always working late and I felt lonely. I don't know, I needed someone to connect with. Her voice cracked and I could see tears welling in her eyes. It was a pathetic attempt at an excuse, but I could feel the anger in me start to fracture, mixed with pain and betrayal. So you thought it was okay to jump in the shower with the handyman? That's your solution? I shook my head in disbelief. It's not just a connection, it's cheating, Laura. You're betraying your vows. She took a step toward me, desperate. Jake, please, I'm sorry. It just happened. I wasn't thinking. I felt neglected and Steve was there. You don't know how lonely I felt. It was a moment of weakness. Moment of weakness, I echoed, incredulous. This isn't some petty mistake. You let him into our home, into our lives. I trusted you. You let him into the most intimate part of our lives. Silence filled the room, and for a moment I thought I could actually hear her heart racing in the quiet. She looked lost, like a child caught doing something wrong and trying to cover it up. I never meant to hurt you. I love you, Jake. She pleaded, but the sincerity was lacking. Love. I laughed again, the bitterness cutting through me. If this is love, I don't want it. If you really loved me, you wouldn't have let it go this far. Her face crumpled and she looked genuinely hurt. I was lonely. I thought you didn't care anymore. You're always working and I felt like I was in this house all alone. Is that an excuse? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady despite my own unraveling emotions. You had every opportunity to talk to me, to tell me how you felt, but instead, you chose to go behind my back. I could feel the tears rolling down her cheeks now, but I didn't have the heart to comfort her. My own heart was shattered, aching with disbelief and betrayal. I didn't know whether to scream or cry or just walk away and never look back. I don't know what to say, Laura. Maybe you need to think about what you want, I said coldly, because I don't know if I can ever trust you again. Her sobs filled the room and I realized that I was still standing in shock, my heart racing as I tried to process everything. I never wanted this, Jake. I love you. I didn't mean to hurt you. She cried, her voice breaking, but I could see that any love she claimed to have was tarnished by her actions. I needed to get away from her, from this situation. I took a breath, trying to compose myself. I need time, Laura. I can't do this right now. The words felt heavy on my tongue as I turned to leave, my heart breaking with every step away from her. The emotional weight was suffocating. I didn't know what to do or how to move forward. All I could think was how everything I thought I knew about our life together had crumbled in a matter of moments. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me, feeling the cold air hit me like a slap in the face. I needed to think. What was the next step? What would I do? I stood outside on our porch, taking deep breaths to clear my mind. The cool air felt refreshing against my heated skin, but I couldn't shake the turmoil inside. I felt like a tornado had torn through my life, leaving chaos in its wake. The sun had started to set, casting long shadows across the yard, where only a day ago I had envisioned laughter and warmth. I paced back and forth, trying to make sense of everything. My thoughts drifted back to Laura, her laughter, her smile, the moments we had shared. But now they all felt tainted. The vision of her with Steve in our shower replayed in my mind, a cruel loop that wouldn't stop. I had invested so much in our marriage, and now I was left holding nothing but shattered trust. After several minutes of battling my thoughts, I made my way to my truck. I needed to get out of the house to clear my head and figure out what to do next. I drove aimlessly for a while, letting the road guide me while my thoughts raced. I found myself at the park where we used to stroll together on weekends, back when things felt right. Sitting on a bench, I pulled out my phone and stared at it, contemplating whether to call anyone. I didn't want to burden my friends with my problems, especially when I was still processing the shock of it all. But I also knew that I couldn't keep this bottled up. I took a deep breath and dialed my best friend, Mark. "Hey, man, what's up?" Mark answered, and I could hear the casualness in his voice, which made me feel guilty for what I was about to unleash. "Hey, can we talk? It's kind of urgent," I replied, my voice low. "Sure, what's going on?" he asked, his tone shifting to concern. I hesitated, not sure how to start. "It's about Laura," I said, finally, feeling the weight of the words. "I caught her cheating on me." The silence on the other end felt deafening. "What? Are you serious?" Mark finally responded, his disbelief palpable. "What happened?" I took a deep breath and recounted the events: the storm, the handyman, the betrayal in our bathroom. As I spoke, I felt a mixture of anger and sorrow wash over me. After I finished, there was another beat of silence before Mark replied, "Man, I'm so sorry, that's horrible." "I don't know what to do," I admitted, my voice cracking. "I feel so lost. I thought we were solid, and now I feel like I don't even know her." "Honestly, Jake, you need to figure out what you want. Do you want to confront her again, work through this, or is it time to walk away?" Mark asked, his tone serious but supportive. "I don't know if I can ever trust her again," I admitted. "But part of me still wants to try. We've been together for so long, I just don't know how to move forward." "Take your time, man. It's a huge decision and you don't have to rush into anything. Just give yourself some space to think," he advised. It was good to hear a voice of reason, but I still felt the weight of indecision pressing down on me. After hanging up, I sat in the park for a while, lost in thought. I didn't want to just toss our marriage aside without considering the years we had spent together. But the idea of staying felt equally as daunting. I felt like I was standing at a crossroads, and I had no idea which path to choose. Eventually, I decided to head back home. I needed to face Laura and discuss where we would go from here, but I wasn't sure I was ready for that conversation. Would she be honest with me? Would I even believe her? When I returned, I found the house quiet. Laura had likely retreated to our bedroom, giving me space, but I knew that wouldn't last forever. I steeled myself for what was to come and walked toward the bedroom. Each step felt heavier than the last. I knocked lightly on the door, and when I heard her muffled voice call out, I opened it. Laura was sitting on the edge of the bed, her eyes red from crying. The sight broke my heart all over again, but I couldn't let my feelings cloud my judgment. "Can we talk?" I asked, my voice steady. She nodded, wiping her eyes and trying to compose herself. "I'm so sorry, Jake. I've been a complete idiot," she started, her voice trembling with emotion. "I never meant for any of this to happen. I love you, I really do." I took a deep breath, trying to process her words. "Love is supposed to mean something, Laura. You don't cheat on someone you love." "I know," she exclaimed, desperation in her voice. "I messed up. I was lonely, and it was a stupid moment. I thought it wouldn't matter, that it wouldn't mean anything, but it was wrong, and I know that now." I could see the regret on her face, but it didn't change what had happened. "You need to understand how much this hurt me. It's not just about you feeling lonely or neglected. It's about trust, and you broke that." "I know," she said, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I'll do anything to fix this. I don't want to lose you, Jake. I'm willing to go to counseling or anything. Please, just give me a chance to make it right." I felt the crushing weight of her plea. Did I still want to fight for us? Could I really start to rebuild what had been broken? It was a daunting thought, but I knew I had to make a decision. "I don't know if I can trust you again," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "But maybe we can figure this out. I just need time. I need to think about what I want." Her face fell, but she nodded, understanding the gravity of what I was saying. "I can give you time, Jake. Just please don't walk away. I love you, and I'll do whatever it takes to prove it." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think that we could get through this. But as I looked into her tear-streaked face, I realized that the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges and uncertainty, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for that just yet. But one thing was clear: I needed to take control of my own life moving forward, and I wasn't going to settle for anything less than trust and respect. The days that followed were a whirlwind of confusion and emotional turmoil. It felt surreal to be living in the same house with Laura, the woman I had once considered my partner in everything. now a stranger who had shattered my trust. Each day, I faced the reality of our situation, and every moment felt like wading through thick fog. I wanted to believe that we could rebuild, but the path was murky, and I wasn't entirely sure where it would lead. I tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy. I went to work, kept up with my daily routines, and even participated in small conversations with Laura. But the underlying tension was palpable. It hung in the air like a dark cloud, always threatening to rain down on us. Our interactions were awkward, marked by silence and avoidance of the elephant in the room. Laura made efforts to reach out, trying to reconnect. She organized dinner dates at the house, attempted to recreate the little things we used to enjoy. I watched her struggle, hopping to find the right words to reassure me, but every time I looked at her, I was reminded of that moment in the bathroom. The laughter they shared echoed in my mind, drowning out her attempts at reconciliation. One evening, after a particularly strained dinner, I found myself sitting on the porch, staring out into the darkness. I had poured a drink, hoping the alcohol would dull the pain of my racing thoughts. Laura joined me, sitting down beside me quietly. I could feel her tension, the way she shifted her weight, as if she was weighing every word before speaking. "Jake, I know I've messed up, but I want so much for us to find a way through this," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I miss us." I turned to her, my heart aching at the sight of her vulnerability. "Do you really think we can just forget what happened? That I can just pretend everything is fine?" The bitterness in my voice surprised even me, but I couldn't help it. "You broke my trust, Laura. That's not something you just fix with a few nice dinners." "I know, and I can't change what I did, but I want to change how I am," she replied earnestly, her eyes pleading with me to understand. "I'm willing to go to couples therapy. I'll do anything to make it right, to prove to you that I love you." I took a deep breath, considering her words. Part of me wanted to believe her. After all, we had built a life together filled with love and memories. But could I really trust her again? The thought of therapy made my head spin. It seemed like a last-ditch effort to save something already broken. "Do you really think therapy is going to fix everything?" I asked, my voice softer now. "What if I go and it doesn't change anything? What if it just makes things worse?" "We won't know unless we try," Laura said, her tone firm but gentle. "I don't want to lose you, Jake. I'm scared too, but we owe it to ourselves to at least try." There was a sincerity in her voice that made me pause. I felt the weight of her fear and desperation, but I also felt my own pain bubbling beneath the surface. "I just need to take things slowly," I said after a moment. "I'm not sure I'm ready for therapy yet. I need to understand my feelings before we dive into something like that." She nodded, tears pooling in her eyes again. "I understand. Just please don't shut me out completely. I'm here and I want to work on this with you." "Okay," I replied, feeling the tension ease just a fraction. "Let's take it one day at a time." The next few weeks were a mix of ups and downs. We began to communicate more, albeit cautiously. I found myself still grappling with my emotions, trying to process the betrayal while allowing for the possibility of healing. There were moments of connection, shared laughter over movies, or reminiscing about our favorite trips. But those moments were always laced with an undercurrent of unresolved tension. I began to notice the small changes in Laura. She was more attentive, making an effort to include me in decisions, asking about my day and checking in with me emotionally. It was as if she were trying to rebuild the foundation of our relationship brick by brick. Yet every time she reached out, I felt a flicker of doubt. Was it genuine, or was this her way of trying to smooth over her guilt? One evening, as we sat on the porch once again, I decided to take a risk. "Laura, do you really understand what you've done?" I asked. "It's not just about cheating, it's about trust. I can't just forget it." "I know," she replied, her voice steady but soft. "I know it's going to take time, and I'm prepared for that. I want to be better for you, for us. I'm committed to making this work no matter how long it takes." "I appreciate that," I said, feeling a mix of hope and skepticism. "But we need to be honest about our feelings. I still feel hurt and angry. I don't want to keep sweeping this under the rug." "Too," she admitted, her eyes lowering. "Every day I think about what I did. I think about how much I hurt you and how much I regret it. I don't want to make excuses anymore. I just want to be better." As we talked, I felt a flicker of something, maybe hope. But I was still cautious. I needed to protect my heart, and while I was willing to give her a chance, I knew that I had to be careful. Rebuilding trust wouldn't happen overnight, and I couldn't ignore the pain that still lingered. The next day, I made an appointment for us to see a couples therapist. I needed guidance, and I knew it would help us navigate this complicated mess. It was a step I was both anxious and relieved to take. As the day approached, I felt a mix of dread and anticipation. This was the beginning of a new chapter, but it was also a reminder of the hurt I had experienced. I wanted to believe that we could heal, but I was acutely aware of the fragility of our situation. I didn't know where this journey would lead us, but I was determined to find out. We both deserved a chance to have our voices heard, to express our feelings, and to lay everything on the table. It was time to confront the reality of our relationship, not just the good parts, but everything that had brought us to this point. And as I prepared for that first session, I hoped that for both of us, it would be the beginning of real healing. The day of our first therapy session arrived, and I felt a knot of anxiety settling in my stomach. I had been packing around the house all morning, second-guessing our decision. Did I really want to go through with this? Was I ready to lay our vulnerabilities bare in front of a stranger? But deep down, I knew this was a necessary step if we were going to move forward. Laura and I arrived at the therapist's office, and as we sat in the waiting room, I could feel the tension crackling between us. The air was thick with unspoken words and lingering emotions. I glanced at Laura, who was nervously fiddling with her hands. I could see the fear in her eyes, fear of being judged, fear of what we might discover about each other. When we were called in, we entered a cozy room with soft lighting and comfortable seating. The therapist, a woman named Dr. Ellen, greeted us with a warm smile. She had an aura that immediately put me at ease, but I still felt a flutter of apprehension. "Welcome, Jake and Laura. I appreciate you both being here today," Dr. Ellen said, gesturing for us to take a seat across from her. "This is a safe space for both of you to express your feelings and concerns. Let's start with you, Laura. What brought you to therapy?" As Laura began to speak, I felt a wave of emotions wash over me. She shared her feelings of loneliness, her need for connection, and the mistakes she had made. Hearing her admit her shortcomings was both painful and oddly reassuring. It was the first time I felt like I was getting a glimpse of the person I had married, the person who had hidden her vulnerabilities behind walls of indifference and betrayal. Dr. Ellen listened intently, nodding as Laura spoke. When it was my turn, I struggled to find the words. The pain and betrayal felt so fresh, so raw. I spoke about my feelings of hurt, anger, and confusion. I told her about that moment in the bathroom when everything changed and how it had shattered my perception of our marriage. "What do you want from this therapy, Jake?" Dr. Ellen asked gently. I paused, considering the weight of her question. "I want to understand how we got here," I replied, my voice steady but filled with emotion. "I want to know if it's possible to move forward and rebuild what we had, or if we're just prolonging the inevitable." Dr. Ellen nodded thoughtfully and turned her gaze to Laura. "What do you think, Laura? Can you see the possibility of rebuilding trust?" "Yes," she said, her voice strong despite the tears in her eyes. "I know I messed up, but I'm willing to do the work. I want to show Jake that I can be better. I want to fight for our marriage." The session continued, and we delved deeper into our feelings and the dynamics of our relationship. Dr. Ellen guided us through exercises that encouraged open communication. I found myself surprisingly engaged, realizing how much I craved this honesty. It was uncomfortable, but it felt like a necessary step toward healing. As we talked, I could see Laura becoming more vulnerable, her walls crumbling a little more with each revelation. I shared my fears about intimacy and trust, and she opened up about her insecurities and loneliness. It was a back-and-forth exchange that felt cathartic, yet there was still a lingering sense of distrust. After an hour, the session concluded, and we left the office feeling emotionally drained but strangely lighter. I was surprised by how effective it had been, yet I knew this was just the beginning. We had begun a journey toward understanding each other, but we still had a long road ahead. In the days that followed, we continued to practice what we had learned. We made a conscious effort to communicate more openly and honestly, even when it was uncomfortable. I began to share my feelings more freely, and Laura worked hard to be more attentive and supportive. We both knew that it wasn't going to be easy, but we were committed to trying. During one of our evening talks, I asked Laura about the affair. "I want to understand why you turned." To Steve, I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. "What did you see in him that you felt you couldn't talk to me about?" She took a deep breath, her expression pained. "I wish I could explain it," she said. "It was such a stupid mistake. I thought I was just looking for fun, for distraction. I didn't realize how lonely I had become, and instead of reaching out to you, I took the easy way out. It was selfish." "Selfish is an understatement," I replied, trying to keep the anger at bay. "But I appreciate your honesty. It's hard to hear, but I need to know." "I know," she said, her voice trembling. "I need you to know that I regret every moment of it. I want to be more than just a person you can't trust. I want to earn your trust back." "Earning it back is going to take time," I cautioned, "but I'm willing to try if you are." "I'm all in, Jake, I promise you," she said, her eyes filled with determination. "I'll do whatever it takes." The next therapy session arrived, and I felt a sense of hope mixed with apprehension as we entered the room. Dr. Ellen had us reflect on the progress we'd made since our last meeting. It was heartening to see how we were slowly learning to communicate better, but I couldn't shake the doubt that lingered at the back of my mind. As we continued to share, I noticed Laura's sincerity. She genuinely wanted to improve, and I found myself softening toward her. I could see glimpses of the woman I fell in love with, buried beneath the layers of guilt and shame. Dr. Ellen encouraged us to set goals for our relationship, small steps we could take to rebuild trust. We discussed things like scheduling regular date nights, checking in with each other emotionally, and always being transparent about our feelings. It felt good to have a plan in place, though the uncertainty of the future still loomed over us. As the session ended, I could feel a cautious optimism growing within me. Maybe, just maybe, we could turn this ship around. I still had a long way to go, but I was starting to believe that healing might be possible if we both committed to the journey. Leaving the office, I squeezed Laura's hand, a silent promise that we were in this together. The road ahead was still fraught with obstacles, but for the first time in a long while, I felt a flicker of hope that we could emerge stronger on the other side. The weeks turned into months, and as spring blossomed around us, so did a renewed sense of hope in our marriage. Therapy had become a regular part of our lives, and the sessions had opened doors for honest conversations that had long been closed. It was still an uphill battle, but we were both committed to the work it required. Each week, we set aside time to check in with each other. We would sit down, have dinner, and discuss how we were feeling. I found that speaking openly about my vulnerabilities and fears was becoming easier. It was still painful at times, but I was learning to express my emotions rather than bottle them up. Laura, too, had blossomed into a more open and attentive partner. She made a point to show me how much she cared, whether it was through small gestures or just spending quality time together. One evening, as we sat on our porch watching the sunset, I turned to her. "You know, I think we're actually doing this," I said, a smile creeping onto my face. "I can see us healing little by little." Laura smiled back, her eyes sparkling. "I never gave up hope, even when things felt darkest. I knew we could get through this together if we both tried." I reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "It's been a long road, but I feel more connected to you now than I have in a long time." I paused, taking a moment to gather my thoughts. "But I still have to be honest, I'm not completely healed. There are days when I feel that anger bubbling up again, days when I think about what happened and I get scared." "I feel that too," she admitted, her expression serious. "I know that trust is something we're still building, but I want you to know that I'm committed to this. I'm committed to you." In that moment, I realized how far we had come. The betrayal still lingered in the back of my mind, but I was learning to replace that pain with trust. It was a choice we were both making daily. Each time I chose to forgive and let go of anger, I felt a little lighter. Each time Laura chose to be transparent and loving, she reclaimed her place in my heart. As the months rolled on, we started to plan a weekend getaway, a trip we had talked about during therapy as a way to reconnect away from the stresses of home. We headed to a cabin by a lake, a place that had always brought us joy in the past. It felt like a fresh start. When we arrived, the cabin was just as beautiful as I remembered, with rustic charm and nature surrounding us. We spent the first evening cooking together, laughing and reminiscing about our adventures. I marveled at how far we had come, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The next day, we took a hike through the woods. The air was crisp, and the sights and sounds of nature enveloped us. It felt invigorating to be outside, away from the weight of our day-to-day lives. As we walked, we talked about our hopes and dreams for the future, where we wanted to travel, what we wanted to achieve together. Then, unexpectedly, Laura took my hand and stopped walking. "Jake," she said, looking into my eyes, "I want to apologize again for everything. I know I've said it before, but I need you to know how truly sorry I am. I know I hurt you deeply, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worthy of your trust." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. "I appreciate that, Laura, I really do, but I don't want our lives to be defined by what happened. I want us to move forward and create new memories, new experiences that remind us of why we fell in love in the first place." She smiled, and it felt like the sun breaking through the clouds. "I want that too." As we continued our hike, I realized that forgiveness is not a single act but a journey. It's a choice made every day to rebuild and to love. We weren't perfect, and there would still be bumps in the road, but I felt a renewed commitment to work through it together. By the end of our weekend, I felt more connected to Laura than I had in a long time. We returned home with a sense of renewal, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. I realized that life is often unpredictable, filled with twists and turns that we can't control. But what we can control is how we respond to those challenges, how we choose to love and support each other. In the months that followed, we continued to attend therapy, embracing the tools we had learned. We faced our fears, tackled issues head-on, and grew closer with each passing day. Trust was rebuilt slowly, but it was becoming a solid foundation once again. And though I knew there would always be scars from the past, I also knew we were crafting a new story together, one built on understanding, empathy, and a love that could weather any storm. As I reflect on everything we've been through, I've learned that relationships require effort and dedication. It's easy to walk away when things get tough, but staying and fighting for love can lead to incredible growth. It's about learning from the past while choosing to look forward to a brighter future. And as I looked at Laura sitting across from me that evening, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. We had come so far, and together, I knew we could face anything the world threw our way. We were stronger for it, and I was determined to keep building a life full of love, trust, and honest communication.